All right, now that you've got your Python and PyCharm installed, let's create your first project. Now, think of this like setting up your digital workspace. Just like you need a desk and a notebook for studying, you need a specific place on your computer for your code. And so we're going to open up PyCharm and click New Project. Okay, so now see this location field? That's showing you where on your computer this project will live. And by default, PyCharm creates a folder called PyCharm Projects. So go ahead and name this project that we're creating. We'll update this because this will be the directory created for this project inside of PyCharm projects. We're going to name this My First Project. And this can house many files. So that's the reason why it is a directory. Okay, and we want to make sure that this interpreter type says project VNV. Don't worry about what that means right now. We want to make sure that this Python version has selected something by default. And so what this essentially means is it's selecting the interpreter that we're going to be using to run our code. Blah, 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 blah. I understand. Don't worry about that. Just make sure that something is selected there. It should, by default, select Python, which was installed previously. Okay, so now I'm going to select Create. Okay, just put this on full screen. All right, so here we are. We have our first project folder. Now what we need to do, now let's create our first Python file. So I'm going to just ignore and collapse this .venv folder for now. That's called a virtual environment, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but for now, let's just ignore that. What we're gonna do is right click and select File, and we're gonna name this file hello.py. That .py at the end tells your computer, hey, this is Python code. So think of this file like a blank page in your coding notebook. And when you double click it, here you are. You can see that there's three main areas in PyCharm. The left sidebar is your folder system. The big middle section is where you'll write your code. And at the bottom, let's go ahead and select this button, which is our terminal. Now think of the terminal as a text-based way to interact with your computer. Instead of clicking buttons, you type commands. And while it might look intimidating at first, for now, we'll just mainly use it to see what our code outputs when it runs, catch any errors if our code doesn't work, and later we'll use it to install useful Python tools. Now let's talk about running our code. Once you've written some code, which we'll learn next, you can run it in three ways. You can click this green button, this little play button, and it will run it. You can right click and you can select run hello. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the terminal. I'm gonna type Python. Sometimes you might need to say either Python or Python 3, it doesn't matter. And then I'm gonna say hello.py. And when you do that, oh, well, first you need to write some code so it'll output something, but let's write this command, bloop, 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 hello world, okay? And so I'm gonna go down here again and I'm gonna select Python and I'm gonna write hello.py. Or I can do Python 3, hello.py. Okay, so then, now one last thing. I'm just going to show you how to change the appearance of your code editor. You're going to go to PyCharm settings. If you're on the Mac, I believe the Windows, maybe it's file preferences, but we're looking for either settings or preferences. And you go to settings. And then we check out this window and we see where it says appearance, okay? And we're going to change the theme. That's what they call this theme. So we want to change the color of our editor. And so let's see what we have here. Whew, that is quite not it. So I'm going to leave it there. If you want to get more themes, bloop, 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 you get these themes. You can check them out, see the way they look. And then you select install. I'm going to look for something called material theme UI. I'm going to select install. This is letting me know that this is an external plugin party. Let's select accept. It's going to install it. Now I need to restart my IDE. That is what PyCharm is. It's called IDE, Integrated Development Environment. I'm going to restart. It's going to restart for me. And then once again, I'm going to go to my settings or preferences. I go to appearance. All right. And now you can see there's all these new themes in here. And so I can go through and change the